Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of the Estrella podcast. Before I get started in introducing today's beautiful guest, if you would like to learn more about the Estrella platform, please visit estrella.chat. You'll be able to receive more information and exciting news from when the launch is happening and what's going on. Now, for today's guest, I'm really excited to interview once again and bring her daughter along for this episode, Sally and Sarah Rice. Hi, ladies. How are you
Hi.
today?
Hi, Danny. It's so good to see you again. Thank you
So
for
good to
having
see
us.
you. And who is this beautiful lady that you have with you today?
My
Hi,
little
Mom.
bunny.
Yes. Yeah, her little bunny to her, but Sarah Rice to everybody else. Yes, I am happy to be the daughter of psychic mother Sally Rice, and I went on to be a therapist. So I feel like we kind of kept helping people in the family biz, and yeah, here we are.
Yes, I love that. I love that you both of you ladies are doing something in different industries, but also very connected at the same time, where you are giving back and you are helping people and using your gifts to bring healing to the world. And if I may ask, Sarah, what type of therapist are you?
So I am a marriage and family therapist, which is in California, that's what they call it. In other states, a licensed counselor, professional counselor, or a psychotherapist. It's so funny. All the men in the business always call themselves psychotherapists because I think it sounds fancier. And all the women will just say, I'm a therapist. So I sometimes, depending on what podcast I'm on, therapist or psychotherapist, but it's just the same thing. So yeah, I work with individuals and families, couples, children, everybody who are struggling with uh, life, but more specifically as a therapist, diagnosable issues, and then also, helping them to achieve their goals in counseling as well.
That is
Yeah.
wonderful.
And I currently work in private practice out of California. So if anybody is interested in therapy services, they can reach out to me. I work for a private practice called Solutions OC Family Therapy, and it's great. We are a wonderful practice with really, really skilled clinicians who specialize primarily in EMDR therapy, which is really great therapy.
And explain that. What is that exactly?
Okay, so EMDR therapy stands for eye movement rapid desensitization. And what it is research has come out to show that if we simultaneously stimulate both hemispheres of the brain while processing trauma and things from the past, it will help the brain literally rewire itself to recognize that the danger is not a current and present threat. So oftentimes when we experience trauma, that trauma becomes trapped in us, and we become trapped in the story of the trauma and what happened. And we tend to view the situation from the like cognitive and like emotional and like perspective and abilities of the age that we were when we experienced it, or how we were in that moment. And when we are in those moments experiencing trauma, we are not in using our full brain. We are in our most reactive, like reptilian brain that does not allow for us to see the big picture. It's the parts of the brain that allow you to see the full story or understand so many different things, like literally go offline. So using a therapy that stimulates those parts of the brain while you're in a healthy brain state and while the prefrontal cortex, where you can do all that processing, is activated, will help to categorize those memories and free you from the story and the trauma and how it was trapped. I went to therapy myself for years because of trauma from childhood, and it helped. It kind of kept things at like the feelings at bay, or helped me manage, but it didn't feel like ever a cure. And when I did EMDR for the first time, and it only takes a few sessions, it really is magic. It was a cure. I now am like, okay, I see this. It changed my brain. Everybody who I know who has experienced this, clients, they all say the same, and it's really amazing. I'm not trained in it myself, clinically, but everybody at my practices, I'm in the process of taking that training and getting that training done so that I can offer those services. But it really is like the future of therapy. And I know I'm blabbing on and on, but
No,
what
you're fine.
It's fascinating.
what's really interesting about it is so we find that the same effects or similar effects happen when we're walking, when we're going for a walk. And that's why walking is so beneficial. There's something about that bipedal movement and that almost like the beat of walking. So if you have a problem, this is why we pace when we have a problem, and it feels better. Like, it helps us kind of process things. So going for a walk and talking to somebody is shown to have the best, reparative cognitive effects. And so this is almost stimulating that in a therapeutic environment, in a safe space, with somebody who could then help you process those feelings. And it's great.
Now, if I may ask, Sarah, when you guys are helping a client heal and recover from all of these traumas, these hindrances that they're going through emotionally and mentally, is the goal to actually have them completely forget about what they experienced? Or is it that if it were to come up in a thought, that they're not triggered, if that makes sense?
Definitely the latter. It's impossible. I always tell clients, you are not responsible for your first thought or your first feeling. Those are automatic. Those are going to happen to us. It's kind of like when you come home, maybe late at night, and you open the door and you see a pile of, you see something and you're like, oh, a burglar. And that is your first immediate response. And then you have the first feeling of being scared for like a second. And then you turn on the lights and you're like, oh my gosh, no, that's just my jacket on the chair. We would never beat ourselves up for having that moment of like, oh, maybe we do a little of like, oh, that was silly, but we don't make it the story of, oh my God, I can't believe that I thought it was a monster. I thought it was a burglar or something like that. We don't make that the story. So it's similar to that, where you're not responsible for that first thought or your first feeling. Those are going to be automatic and those are going to happen. What therapy does is it helps you turn on the lights so that you can recognize this is not a monster. This is not a burglar. This is just a feeling that comes up, and feelings and thoughts. You are not responsible for your first thought or your first feeling. You are responsible for your second thought and your first action, which is what we help with in therapy. So your second thought is a challenging thought of, well, what else could it be? Or am I safe? Or what are my tools right now? And your first action is turning on the lights or putting your clothes away or whatever it may be, or taking a deep breath. So that is the stuff that we work on in therapy. And I never want clients to think, and this is such a big part of the first stages of therapy, I think, is helping clients understand that there's no amount of therapy that's going to make you stop feeling and make you stop experiencing like emotions as a human. Those are wonderful things. What happens is we are taught to ignore those. We're taught to that everything, it's like this self-help world that we live in, where it's like, feel better, be happy now. No, sometimes you don't feel happy, and that's okay. But that is just a passing emotion, just like a storm is passing, clouds are passing, a rainstorm, it comes and then it goes. But if we are like living underneath that rain cloud and creating that rain cloud for ourselves, that's when it becomes a problem, because we start to live in the feelings, and then we ignore the feelings for so long, and they only get stronger and stronger and stronger. So we want to embrace the feelings, and so much of therapy is learning how to manage and cope with emotions, because we all have them, we all experience them, but they do not have to. They sometimes make us think that we're going to die from them. Like every time I've been heartbroken, I think, oh, I'm definitely going to die. And turns out you don't, so it's okay. And therapy just helps you challenge the thoughts that tell you things aren't okay.
Right. This is leading into a great discussion because I previously interviewed your mother, and she's a psychic, and with now us knowing that you're a therapist, I would like to get into a nice discussion with you ladies on when to know when a client should go to a psychic or a therapist for their needs, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, or even spiritually.
Yeah.
So I don't know who would like to start that, but I would
What do you
love
think?
to get both of your takes on it.
Well, I think Sarah should start because I want to hear her opinion first.
Okay, what do I?
My
Yeah,
entire life telling her what's up. Now I want her to tell me
yeah,
what's up. It's a game changer.
yeah. Well, I think if somebody is looking for information on uh, maybe a direction that they want to go in their life, if they're maybe looking, maybe they are, I kind of think of like we're on this path of life and they have a bunch of different options ahead of them, maybe like a fork in the road with so many different like directions to go down. Then, maybe somebody like my mom could be helpful for that, help them kind of see like what maybe get insight into what would happen taking each of those directions. But if you want to work on the path that you came from, that what happened on back there on the trail behind you, that I feel like is where a therapist can really help, because we focus not necessarily living in the past, but to free you from, again, that story about who you are or why you think the way you do. We kind of help unravel that so you can understand and navigate the trails ahead. And I think my mom kind of helps to provide some insight into what could be at the end or down each of those paths. What do you think, Mom?
I think that's a great explanation. I have and I love that. The way I answer that question, I could answer it so many ways, is that very simply, there's the lobby of life and there's the penthouse where you want to get to after you've checked into your hotel room. I say, like, okay, it doesn't matter whether you're staying in the Ritz-Carlton or whether you're in Motel 6 or a flea dive motel. It doesn't matter. They all require that you check in, you get your room key, do all that business, stand in line. Nobody likes the lobby of life. We want to get to our room. We want to get to the penthouse. A psychic is more like, what am I going to do when I'm in the penthouse and I'm in my room after I've checked out? A therapist is like, how do I get through the lobby?
Yeah.
You see. So it's therapist is for practical matters. What am I doing? Where did I come from? Exactly like Sarah said. What was my past all about? What was that big mess that was created? Help me manage the lobby. Psychic work is about, okay, I've transcended that story.
Yeah.
Now I want to know about what happens to me after I leave this incarnation. Where did I live in my past lives?
Yeah.
What are my relationships, or what is my soul purpose? All of those sort of ethereal questions. I get frustrated a lot when people make appointments with me and I want to say, I'd love you to call my daughter.
Right.
Because it's inappropriate to call a psychic and go, what does happen a lot is they pay money and they say, okay, now tell me if this person loves me or not. Well, why don't you call a therapist for your problems in the lobby?
Yeah.
Because that's not really what I'm here to do. You
Right.
see.
Yeah,
So
I'm going to say something that I think might make people mad, but I think it's the truth and they need to hear. And that's also why I'm a therapist, because I like to do, I say things that maybe people need to hear,
me too.
and then they pay me for it. Sometimes I think that, well, I know the hardest part about therapy is that the client has to do the work.
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
And I see people avoid going to therapy because they don't want to do the work. So I see people try, it's almost like you're trying to hustle to make money, and you spend so much time and energy making $5. You could have just, gotten the job for $20 an hour or something like that, or you're putting the wrong amount of energy into the wrong places. Or it's like, people are don't want to do the therapy work, so they'll go, oh, I'm going to find a therapist, oh, I'm going to talk to all my friends, oh, or not therapist, sorry, I'm going to find a psychic, I'm going to talk to all my friends, I'm going to read all these self-help books, I'm going to spend all this money on this seminar. No, you're avoiding the actual work, which is what a therapist is going to make you do. And a therapist makes, if you want something to change, you are going to have to change and to do some things different. And that is the part that I think is hard for people, you know, when and that's why I do think it's important to start with a therapist, because they can help even that process, you know. And when somebody has been stuck in a problem for so long, and whether that problem be, you know, whatever it is, if they're just stuck in life, oh my God, I forgot the rest of my sentence. How that happens all the time to me.
Fall far from the tree.
I know. What was I saying? Okay. If they are, oh, yes. If they are stuck in life, sometimes they don't know that there's another option. They are so familiar. There's an expression that says, the certainty of misery is more comfortable than the misery of uncertainty.
Yes.
So people are they're familiar with this feeling, and I know I can manage always being the one who struggles in my love life. I'm familiar with that story. I know how to be that person. I always, you know, that's like how I talk to my friends. We're always talking about my love life and how bad it is and blah, 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 blah. I know how to be that person. And this is all subconscious. But what I might be scared of is what my story would be if I actually found love. What it would be like. What would I tell my friend? What would I talk about? Would I still have anything to say at dinner party? And we're not aware that this is going on. This is all happening subconsciously. So a therapist will help you get unstuck and move out of the lobby. And it kind of reminds me of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where it's like this triangle that lists the needs of a person as we evolve as like a being. And at the very, very, very top of that is like spiritual enlightenment. But at the very bottom of that is basic self-care. And what I see often are people who really struggle with that, where it's like, I help with behaviors, I help with patterns that keep people stuck in, like my mom says, the lobby.
Is there ever a point in time, ladies, where you may find a client that is doing the work, they're in the lobby, they're doing the work, they get to the penthouse, right? And then you realize, oh, you got to go back to the lobby. Is that possible? Does that happen with clients where you have to take a step back and do further work because maybe initially you thought they were ready to move forward, but then you found like, oh no, there's still things there that need to be brought to the surface to be worked on?
Yeah, you know, I think that our brain is kind of like this file cabinet, and it keeps all of the memories from the past stuck in those file cabinets. And then every time we have an experience that reminds us of something similar, our brain opens one of those files, opens that file, say like file on love or whatever, and it pulls out that file and it uses the information from that old file to act and make predictions about the current situation in the moment. So what I work on with clients is pulling out those files as they come up in their lives and editing them and going through and saying, what's old information that we don't need? What's like, you know, this like danger red piece of paper that we have in there that says like men are terrible, and like, where did that come from? Why do we believe that? Can we edit that? Can we get rid of what's in the file? But just like a file cabinet, some of those drawers stay locked. And we may be doing a lot of great work on like the love and relationships or self-care or boundaries with families, but we didn't even know that. And we're like, you know, living in the penthouse, like mom says, doing all that stuff because we're evolved and we've you know, set the good boundaries. We're living healthy, blah, blah, blah. But then something happens, like we experience the death of a loved one. And we're unlocking a cabinet, like a drawer on that file cabinet, and pulling out a file that we haven't ever seen before. And so then we might have to go back to the therapist to help go through that new drawer that's been opened. So I think there are always going to be experiences in life that allow for younger, less emotionally evolved versions of us to take the reins and start like running the show. And when that happens, we got to go back to square one. But the good news is the tools are all the same. You know what to do now. People are always scared, like, oh, am I going to forget what I learned in therapy? But we never, like, you never worry, oh my God, am I going to forget what 2 + 2 is? Or am I going to forget how to tie my shoes? Once you have the awareness, once you know that a thought is just a thought, and that that doesn't mean anything, and once you know how to challenge, irrational thoughts, you just use the same tools, but you use them for different experiences. And sometimes it takes a therapist to say, hey, whoa, no need to freak out. This is the same. You have the toolbox right here. I know this looks like a different job, but it requires all the same tools. And that you can get kind of maybe panicky in that moment if you're the client, when you open a new drawer and new memories come up.
Yes. Would you ladies say that therapy is a form of spirituality? What are your takes on that?
Well, yeah, I think anytime we're learning about the self, there's a spiritual component to that. Like spirituality, I think it is this idea that there's something greater than us. And therapy kind of connects to the us that is, in a way, greater than us. Like that, we talk so much about the wise mind in therapy. And the wise mind to me is that, like, it's in, now to get all like hippity dippity on my mom's side of things, that's like the source. Like the wise mind is this, and it's so funny when we are in our wise mind, we talk to ourselves in third person. We're like, you're okay, you're just fine. And it feels like this, or like you're gonna, when we're in that lower self, it's like, oh my God, I'm so dumb, I'm the worst, it's that I language. So it feels to me like our wise mind is this like ancient sage, multiple lifetimes, all-knowing version of us that sits up there in the pool of
penthouse,
like in the penthouse. Yes, in that, like, there was a great Disney movie called, I think it was called Flow.
Yes.
And that movie perfectly portrayed that spiritual world. Oh my God, it makes me want to cry. I do cry when I talk about this stuff.
Yes, good.
I do too. I do too.
It's so important to connect to that. Yes. And I love when Disney movies and stuff they make it real cute. So yeah, it's like that version of us is like where all creativity comes from, and inspiration and love, and it's like all peace. And when you get there, it feels all warm and it's wonderful. But we feel like it's almost like when somebody's in this tough place, when they need a therapist, it's like there's a layer of smog that is preventing them from energetically connecting to that higher being and wise self. Oh my God, I don't know why it makes me so emotional.
I totally understand. It makes me emotional too. It really does. I actually was just
really
crying
beautiful. It's
an
really
hour ago.
It's like a lovely thing. It's so beautiful, and it's so like, and then when you see like the little glimpses of it, when I just love my job as a therapist because it feels like I help clients like clean the air, help show them how to, and I see like moments where like it breaks through. And when you look, when there's a cloudy day and the sun rays come through, and the rays, you can just see the individual rays like shining through. That's what I like picture when they just connect to that that wise mind, and they tell themselves, like, they usually will put their hand on their chest. And that's why I feel spiritual, because all clients do the same things. And
Yes.
it's like, people will tell me, like, will look at me like, oh my God, are you psychic? And I'll say, I'm not a
Yes.
psychic. I'm just like, this is the truth. This is just what, what we know to be the truth. And it's really beautiful. So
Okay,
Yes.
and
yeah.
I'm gonna paraphrase it in the psychic world of what she exactly just said. Okay, so and it's a different way of looking at it, but it's basically the same thing. So now the way I explain what Sarah is explaining in her therapist vocabulary, which is exactly the same, is I say what we want to do is create a golden triangle, the sacred geometry that we know exists, that holds the universe together, is also inside of us. Okay, so we want to be in complete alignment, ruled by our higher self in this world, but not of it, observing ourselves all the time from the perspective of our higher self, living there and going through life from that perspective of I'm observing myself having a human incarnation. I will be the caretaker of my soul. I will love myself from that awareness that I am eternal being of light, that I have no beginning, no end. I am part of God. And I say that's our heart space. A higher self is in your heart. So you want to start from the heart space and have the mind that works for the heart be in alignment with the needs and understanding of the higher self. So there's a compatibility there, and that the words that come out of your mouth match. So when we are in alignment with our higher self heart space, the mind that is dictating what the heart wants, and then the words that express it, when that is in complete alignment, we are in our own golden ratio, golden perspective. They all match. When that's all on the same page, you don't avoid suffering, but you transcend it. In other words, bad things can happen to you, but you don't like, oh no, and so the world is, because when, it's happening, that's head, that's ego, and a lower self, right? But when we are in our higher attuned heart, head, and words all in alignment, that's when we can transcend human suffering and experience heaven on earth. See?
And in therapy, they just call it being congruent. Same thing.
Yes.
But also to understand that being congruent means that you have to be connected to your heart. We also know, thank you, Bruce Lipton and all the other wonderful scientists who have determined that our higher intelligence, there's neurons in our heart space that dominate our brain. So we want to work from the heart. And when we do that, then we're in alignment with our higher self, and life goes.
Could you imagine what coming to Thanksgiving dinner with a problem would be like in our family? Could you imagine if you were a guest and you, God forbid, say, I'm not feeling so good about this. Like, oh, and the two of us are there. I hope you have 3 hours.
Let me ask you, ladies.
Tell you. Yes, go ahead.
Let me ask you, ladies, this, if that's okay. Do you think it's possible for a man or a woman in their lifetime to reach enlightenment or to evolve if they don't go through therapy first, if they don't do the work first? Do you think that's possible for them to accomplish that?
I think it's possible to accomplish that if you don't understand, like, thinking about that trail that you've been on. Like, I think that it's important to, what I have seen is some people get so into the spiritual realm and that world that they can maybe dismiss some human problems. Like we still have to recognize that we are living in this physical world that has rules, that has, you got to play like, this is like what your soul signed up to play Earth Game. And here on Earth Game, you have to pay taxes and you have to have a job and you have to do this kind of stuff. And sometimes if you get too into that, well, nothing matter. Like, we're all just spiritual beings and almost too connected in that way. You have to keep one foot in reality. And I have seen people who will ignore some of that responsibility in this physical world. And so if you're doing that, and here's how to tell. How do the people around you feel about you? That's where that congruence is too, is how you are and how you act and how you believe other people see you should be aligned with how other people see you. If you're sitting there like, I am so spiritually enlightened and blah, 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 but you're kind of an asshole to your friends or to people in your family, I don't give a shit how spiritual you are or whatever. The people around you are like, oh, this guy can't return a phone call or whatever. So that it would the people or would your 5 closest friends also agree that you are in a place of like balance in that mind, body, and spirit?
That's what we were talking about, the congruity. It's like you're being
but
in
some people
alignment.
can be like egocentric and be like, oh yeah, I'm totally fine, and everybody around them is like, what are you doing?
Right.
So that is my answer to that.
But also the whole spirituality.
Oh wait, did it pause? I think we lost it. Oh no, there it is. There we go. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Here
we are.
It's a little bit of the flavor of the week, right? It's like trendy to be spiritual, and it's sort of the buzzword.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that.
Our culture is saturated right now with people. I mean, like 20 years ago, there were like 4 psychics. Now
everyone.
Yeah. That's what
it's like, what the heck?
It's the life coaches for me that are like, what are we doing here? We're not, they're asking for so much money and they're not. And I'm like,
really?
Those life coaches sometimes, I mean, not to poo poo on some, I'm sure are wonderful and great, but sometimes I'm like, girl, you couldn't get your own life together. So you want to tell everybody else.
Right. You ladies are leading me into my next question, because I was just going to ask, within the last decade or so, you have seen a rise in spirituality and even therapy becoming a fad, where it's like you said, everybody's a therapist, everybody's a life coach, everybody's a crystal healer and a psychic. And
oh my goodness.
So how would you tell, what advice could you give viewers to know how to discern between what is legit and what is not when it comes to spirituality and therapy?
Yeah. Okay. When it comes to therapy, this is a big one. If you do not like your therapist, get a new therapist. If you do, the most important thing about a therapist is you feeling like this person gets you. And if they feel like, I'm going, but they don't really get me, or nope, get a new therapist, because you hired them. It's not like a doctor where you go to the doctor and like, it's okay if they have terrible bedside manner because like they're great at fixing bones. This is not that. This is you get to audition your therapist, and a good therapist will have you do a consultation with them. You could talk to them first. It's not just like sign up right here. And with a good therapist, a good therapist will never tell you what to do. I think of me, I am a taxi cab driver, and the client gets in and they tell me the destination, and I know the shortcuts and I know how to get there and all that. But if they just get in and are like, where do I go? Then I can't help you. So if a therapist is telling you where to go, this is the direction to go in, not a good therapist, they're not helping. And I like to make my client is the expert. No therapist is the expert on you. You are the expert on you. And a good therapist will help you remember that. And also a good therapist is trying to get you out of therapy. My job is to work quickly with my clients so they can quickly and intensely so that they can reach their goals. And I am not that therapist that goes like, so how do you feel about that? Or, what? No, I mean, we'll talk about feelings a little bit, but it's like action. It's
Proactive.
super proactive. And so if you feel like, man, I just go in there and I'm talking the whole time and my therapist is just like sitting back, I hear wild shit that therapists say and do. And then your therapist is not doing the right thing. And yeah, so I think anybody that tells you that you need to buy this package or stay in this program for a certain amount of time, or once you get past level 1 then you go to level 2, fuck that. There is no, that is a you are now in a like pyramid scheme or whatever.
Right.
So let's not do that. That's my
Okay, and then I want to say about how to tell a good from bad psychic. Okay, first of all, anybody who tells you you're cursed or you have an attachment or you buy this candle and that's $80 and then burn it on this day, whatever, or any psychic who tells you, oh, you're gonna meet Joe on December 20th and you're gonna marry him. Anybody who tells you specific information like that, get your money back, run as fast as you can, because that is not the qualifications of a real psychic. A real professional psychic would never tell you how to live your life. You're the like Sarah said, you're the only one who has knowledge of your soul contract. A psychic is going to help you know the highway ahead, but the free will is your decision on how you negotiate that highway. We'll tell you whether it's got street lights and whether it's well paved and what this road looks great and that road not so great. But if somebody tries to dictate to you how to live or what to be doing, not authentic. Get your money. So, and also the whole thing about like evil spirits and you're cursed and all that, which is hogwash, because the spiritual world, having been born a psychic, always seeing spirit, I have never, with thousands and thousands and thousands of experiences with the spiritual realm, I've never seen evil in the spiritual realm. It doesn't exist there. It's just love and light. The darkness is right here.
Yeah.
And that's like in the lobby. Okay. Yeah. The lobby. So we work on the lobby for lobby things.
That's so well said.
Do spiritual work. Evil does not come there.
Yes.
So this is just like a little fun fact that is really interesting, that kind of highlights that, and the Western world and especially in like a Judeo-Christian society, schizophrenia internationally presents different. The voices that people hear in the United States or in Western culture tend to be like, they'll say they're more like not demonic, but there's more of that evil, or this idea of this is like a something bad that's following you. In, I think it's Korea, it's like a nagging parent. In other cultures, it's a loving, kind voice so it has to do with our cultural belief about what a voice telling you something would mean. And if we grew up with even just a little bit of the messages that's the devil or something like that, then our brain will label it as such. So that is not how it exists. It's the human like
Yes.
filter that we put that through.
Yes. I love how you ladies had broken all of that down. And essentially what I'm getting is what you're saying is, one, we have to do the work
You
in
got to
order
do the
to
work.
really evolve.
Nobody's getting away
Like,
with a free pass. You got to do the work.
the work's got to be done. And then once you get into the nitty gritty and you do the work, now you've opened up a whole new path to understand what could be your future based on the actions and the thoughts that you make, right? So putting that,
Bingo.
now that we have that self-love and that empowerment,
Really important.
we're now able to clearly, or hopefully clearly, make the right decisions.
I get
That's
goosebumps.
Yeah, it's beautifully, that what you both said was beautifully said, because what I've come to find in society today is, and we see it a lot on TikTok and on social media and shows, is instead of people pointing the finger at themselves, they point it at everything else. And then they wonder why they're still in the same situations, why they still keep attracting the wrong people, or why they're not getting the careers that they want, while they're still holding on to the past and not forgiving. And what they don't understand is you have to point that finger at yourself. You have to be able to take a hard look at yourself and say, this is not the man or woman that I want to be. And you got to do the work in order to be where you want to be spiritually. So I love that. And it really, just to hear it again is such a great reminder from both of you, because
thank you.
I'm on that path too. And my goal is to be and stay in the penthouse.
Yeah. You know,
That's the idea.
The thing I want to really also remind people is that was so beautifully said and summarized how you said all of that. And when you say, like, you got to point the finger at yourself and do the work, that sounds way scarier than it is.
Yes.
That sounds, there's this very funny video that was going around the internet. It comes up every now and then, but it's of this little boy who's at the beach and he is holding rope because he thinks, did it freeze for a sec? Okay. So he's holding on to this rope so tight with his feet tucked in and is like just in like a little ball. And because he doesn't want to let go because he's so scared. And everybody around him is like, stand up, let go of the rope, let go of it, stand up. And then he puts his legs down and stands up and realizes the water is only about thigh deep. And that is what we are doing when we think, I can't do it, I can't change. Oh my God, it's so scary. And I am the therapist who's like, dude, you're in 3 feet of water here. It's fine. Just stand up. The cage that you are creating is this is all in your head. This is all in your mind. It is so less scary. It's like, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to open that box. I don't want to let those feelings out. If I start talking about it, I'll never close it. That's what I help with. We contain those feelings. I got tools for that. Don't even worry. A feeling, when we actually process it, lasts for about 90 seconds. And that's it. And once you really just sit with it and not try to ignore it, if you ignore it, it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. But really sit in that 90 seconds. I've set time, like, okay, set the timer. Let's go. Nobody ever, they just take, and then we know they process the feeling and they go, there you go. Done. Feelings. That's it. How was that? Well, that wasn't a bad. I know. See you next week. That was it. So it's not hard. It's not. It sounds scary only because you don't know how deep the water is, but the water is only up to your knees.
Yes. Absolutely. Essentially, kind of expounding on what you're saying, Sarah, you're saying don't let fear, false expectations appearing real. Do not let that hinder you from allowing yourself to let go of that rope. So as we're nearing the end of this episode, and I'm so grateful to have both of you ladies on this show, I would like for you ladies to one last piece of just word of wisdom or encouragement for our viewers from the therapist perspective and from the psychic perspective. How does one start on this journey? How does one get going so that they can get through the lobby to reach the penthouse?
What do you say, Mom?
Okay. Getting started. Just the key, I think, and it transcends for everything. It's the same for therapy, and it's the same. It's living. It's being a human.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. We're going to say the same things. I love that. I was like, ooh, where's she going? And I know it's the same. It'll essentially be the same thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So
We have to discover self-love. We can't do anything and evolve if we don't love ourselves. I don't care what you say.
yeah.
Self-love is your power. And discovering self-love means that you have to accept that you are an eternal being of light, that you are in the eyes of God, you are connected to God, there is no separation, you are here to have this beautiful incarnation. Start there. If we don't start there, we can't build on it. It's like the castle built on sand or on concrete. Our foundation has to be self-love. That's the starting point. So for everything.
And what I've learned, and if you asked me 10 years ago, I would have had the exact same answer as my mom, but now I added one more, like step 1A before you get to the self-love, because what I have seen in therapy, which maybe I see more in my work than my mom sees, is people really struggling with depression, people really struggling to get to that place of self-love. And the cure for that is connection. The cure for the play in order to get to, because what people will do is they will provide a mirror that will show you you are not as bad as your inner thoughts tell you that you are. You are not as that you're in order that when we're not in that place of self-love, our brain will say, nobody wants to be around you. Nobody likes you. You're going to be alone forever. And so to get through that, even if you are struggling to let go of that, to get to self-love and let go of those thoughts, connect to others. Even this podcast is a form of connection. I'm sure there's a community that you provide that will allow people more connection. Go to, it doesn't matter if you're like scared to talk to people. I know there are silent book clubs you can go to where you just hang out with people reading a book. You don't have to talk to anybody. Be around people. Go to something that you're interested in. Connect with everybody. Even if your brain is telling you I have nobody and I'm all alone and I have no friends, there is somebody there is somebody who you are even closely linked to. Lean into that friendship and connect to others, because through the connection to others, it like exponentially grows that self-love and all of that. So that's my advice on where to start, is with connection.
That is so wonderful. I so appreciate both you, Sarah, and Sally, once again for being with me today. And finally, how can the viewers get a hold of you ladies if they are interested in getting some therapy or some psychic services?
Mom, go ahead.
AgapeCostaRica.com, SallyRicePsychic.com. I'm here to help you in any way. Connect to your spirit guides, past lives, destiny, where you're going. And then Sarah?
And you can hear more from me. I host 2 podcasts. I host a podcast called the Brain Candy Podcast, which is just fun, brainy stuff. 2 weekly podcasts with that. And I also have a therapy-themed podcast called This Changes Everything. And you can get those anywhere you stream your podcasts. And if you are interested in therapy services, then you can go to solutionsoc.com. That's solutions with an S. And you can book a free consultation with me. And I also offer life coaching services. So even though I poo-pooed life coaches, when you are a licensed therapist in other states, you are limited to who you could work with. So if you're somebody who's looking to achieve goals and knows the direction they want to go, but feels stuck in that lobby, then I offer life coaching services to anybody outside of California. And you can email me at sarah@solutionsoc.com, and we can get you started and get unstuck and get out of that lobby.
And then when you get out of the lobby, then you call me and I'll show you what
Exactly.
Pet House is all about.
Exactly.
Thank you, ladies, so much for your time. And thank you to all of you for watching another episode of the Estrella podcast. I'm Danielle Miranda. And if you would like more information on the Estrella platform, please head over to estrella.chat. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you, ladies, for being on the show today.
It was
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you for having us.
Fun.
Have a wonderful day.
You
Bye.
too.
This was so fun. Thank you so
So
much.